Hey guys, welcome back to Project Black T-Shirt. I'm Adam Caesar. As always, I think this is the fourth time I'm doing this, so let's keep it going. Go team. Today, very special movie to talk about because it's actually three movies. I've been looking forward to this release ever since it was announced. This is Arrow Video's American Horror Project Volume 1. And what they're doing with this series, before I talk about any of the movies, talk about the series itself, what they're doing with it is they're choosing three movies, I think three movies a volume, the first one has three movies in it, that are kind of underseen or haven't had proper DVD or Blu-ray releases, and then they're talking about them with a number of experts like Stephen Thrower, Brian Albright, and others. They all new special features, a little kind of Criterion-esque booklet with essays, just great stuff. So the three movies in here are Malatesta's Carnival of Blood, The Witch Who Came from the Sea, and The Premonition. And we're going to go through now and kind of talk about each one. And these are not your kind of normal they're not what you default to when you think of 70s American horror. They're kind of either regional films or films made by Hollywood outsiders or films that are kind of just forgotten by critics and fans alike. So I applaud and love the idea behind these, even if not every movie is my cup of tea, and that's kind of important because I think that for the casual fan or for the fan that's just like, oh, I love horror. Like, what's good? What's gory? What's new? You're probably not gonna get a ton out of this. And I'm just being honest because even someone who considers themselves like a patient and thorough movie watcher, even some of these weren't my cup of tea. But I do love the set, and I love the idea behind the set, and I love that I own the set now. Even on the movies where I didn't love them, the special features and the way the discussion of how these movies were made, I found even more interesting than the movies themselves in some cases. We'll talk about that. So we'll go through in order. I mean, there's no real, they don't give you a kind of preferred viewing order, but they do have spine numbers like Criterion's do. So I just kind of went 1, 2, 3. I watched Malatesta's, then The Witch, and then Premonition. First movie is Malatesta's Carnival of Blood. This is directed by Christopher Spieth in 1973, I believe. Yeah, 73. This is hands down the weirder, more interesting, and probably going to be the most divisive movie in the set. It feels a lot like an art film. It is a horror movie, but it has a lot of kind of bonkers 70s art world feel to it. Half of it was filmed in an abandoned amusement park just north of Philadelphia, which is cool. So it's a local movie, and the other half was filmed on sound stages. And when they switch between the sound stages and the carnival itself, you notice, but the carnival is so beautiful, it's so cool, it's got such a neat, creepy, vintage feel to it that it is the star of this movie, even though this movie prominently features Hervé Villechaize from Fantasy Island, the plane. It is a really neat movie. It is also probably my least favorite movie in the set, just because it has a very odd, dreamlike tone to it. It has long stretches of characters in kind of pseudo-zombie makeup, like pawing at each other. It feels very threadbare, but it does feel like there is an intelligence and there is a like kind of thematic thrust behind everything that's happening on screen. So it's not your normal MST3K, Trasterpiece slice of cinema, but at times it does look and feel like it, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like Samuel Beckett got hired to do like a Roger Corman quickie is part of what it feels like. I do really like the special features, and I do really like the whole look of the movie. But as a movie, it's probably not going to be something I repeatedly view. But definitely an interesting shot over the bow, a very audacious movie to start your kind of, hopefully what will be a multi-volume set from Arrow. The next movie is The Witch Who Came from the Sea. It's 1976, directed by Matt Cimber. I think I'm saying that right. And it stars Millie Perkins. And you have to kind of note that it stars Millie Perkins because this is a movie that lives and dies on her performance. Kind of a little bit like Malatesta's very stylized dialogue. I think the dialogue is a little bit better. The performance is a little bit better here. This is clearly a production that's not non-actors. It is clearly it feels like a professional production, but it still has that outsider feel to it, where it is a horror movie in name, but it's more of a psychological drama about abuse and how that manifests itself in a is it or isn't it supernatural way. We have this main character whose departed father sexually molested her. She clearly has psychological issues, and they express themselves in the various men she has crushes on. She starts dreaming things about maybe killing these guys, and then she wakes up and somehow they're dead, even if it doesn't seem possible that she could have physically done it. That's the plot in a nutshell. It's partially a family drama too, because she looks after her sister's 2 kids. She babysits all the time. She begins this kind of descent into madness and rebellion. Feels a lot like something like, The Awakening, or Dollhouse. It feels kind of like a feminist fable for the mid-70s. A very interesting movie, a very, very mid-70s movie. Still not my favorite of the set, but we're getting there. I like this movie a lot. The next movie in the set is from Robert Allen Schnitzer, 1976, also same year as The Witch Who Came from the Sea, but clearly the most polished and professional of the 3 movies in the set. It feels like a contender. It can kind of hold its own with all the studio films of the same year, as in terms of polish and performance and cinematography. I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing it's the highest budget of all 3 of these. It is the story of a couple who has adopted a young girl, and then it alternates back and forth between the girl's birth mother, her boyfriend, and the boyfriend that she met in a psychiatric ward. So we have these 2 characters with clearly mental issues, maybe some of them violent mental issues, and we cut back and forth between this sort of happy adoptive couple and how they're raising their kid. And of course, the mother of the birth mother kind of wants her kid back. And at the whole time this is all wrapped up, this whole kind of kidnapping story is interlaced with the idea that some of these characters are latently psychic and have some kind of psychic ability. So there's this whole kind of, it feels very much like pop psychology or pop parapsychology, cutting edge of 1976. Characters talking about this. There's a doctor character who's running tests on precognition and things like that, ESP, and it's just it's the movie out of the set that kind of made me a believer in this idea of the American Horror Project, of movies that maybe I haven't seen, maybe a lot of other people haven't seen, and giving them a reappraisal. Because I kind of, this is the new cover, but all of these movies have a reversible cover with the original poster art. If you can see that. That's the original poster art. Doesn't really inspire much confidence, doesn't really tell you what this movie is going to actually be like. But it's I put it alongside maybe something like Rosemary's Baby. It's not quite, it's not quite as frightening, not quite as funny, not quite, the absolute classic that Rosemary's Baby is, but it feels of that kind of heightened genre filmmaking. Like, we're going to make a family kidnapping drama, but we're going to throw in a little bit of the supernatural. Great movie. This is also the most interesting disc in the set because it comes with 3 short films by Robert Allen Schnitzer, who kind of talks about in these special features how he tries to weave his metaphysical leanings into all of the movies he makes, and that's very apparent in this movie. Just a really great movie, really smart. Out of the 3 in the set, this is probably the one I'll be watching again, probably with the commentary on. All right, that about does it for Arrow Video's The American Horror Project. Like I said, I'd say 2 out of the 3 films in here were a real hit for me, but your traction may vary based on the kinds of horror you like. Read other reviews, know what you're getting into, because it is an expensive set, but for the people who like this kind of thing, like me, it is a kind of must-buy. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Like I said, it comes with a little booklet. So for the book recommendation this week, I could have gone with Brian Allwright's book about regional horror movies, which has an entry on almost all of these, I believe, because I think The Premonition was shot in North Carolina. I don't remember where The Witch Who Came from the Sea was filmed, but probably LA. It's probably like a Venice Beach thing. But there's another contributor to the book. It's Kayla Janice, and I've talked about this book on my Cemetery Dance online column, if anyone follows me there. But can't recommend it enough. House of Psychotic Women. It's a nonfiction film book, but very, very different than most kind of critical texts because it is part autobiography. It's Janice's kind of journey through film because she's she's a film programmer, author. She gets interviewed for stuff a lot. She's clearly like one of horror's big thinkers. In this book, the first half is kind of that autobiography I was talking about, and the back half is female neurosis on screen, kind of a thought catalog with little capsule reviews of a lot of different movies. And The Witch Who Came from the Sea is in here, and she's the author that writes the essay on The Witch Who Came from the Sea in the companion booklet that comes with that. So House of Psychotic Women. This isn't what the cover looks like anymore. I think there's a newer second printing out there. But a fully illustrated, really cool book. It's an interesting and at times harrowing read. But any film fan who likes nonfiction, who takes this horror stuff seriously, is probably going to want to read it. All right, that's it for today. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. I did take a few months hiatus a little while ago, but I'm promising, maybe fingers crossed, that I will do weekly updates. If not weekly, then as close to weekly as humanly possible. All right, enjoy the movies, guys. Tell me what you think in the comments. See ya.